What's up guys, it's me Jeremy. If you're anything like me, one of your favorite parts in League is initiating team fights. I personally love going in and being the playmaker to start things off and get fights going. And in solo queue, the majority of team fights are actually decided by which team has better initiations, since there's so many things you can take advantage of if you initiate properly. Let's get started. The first thing to do is understand what makes initiations successful. Now, in a general sense, the goal for you when you initiate is to set up positioning for your team and ruin the positioning of your opponents. A good initiation will cement the positioning for the fight and give you a huge advantage that way, while a poor initiation does not take the positioning of your allies into account or fails to mess up the positioning of the opponents. What this means is your team needs to be in position to back you up if you initiate, and you need to have some kind of window that lets you go in and skew the positioning of the opponents. Now, this can be done a multitude of ways. The best way is, of course, to catch someone out for a pick in your initiation. But initiating in on the mid line and just doing things such as landing crowd control on multiple targets or getting enough damage on the back line to zone them out are great ways to do this as well. There is also other ways, but the key is to understand that you are trying to mess up the positioning of your opponents enough to give you an advantage with your solid positioning, to where you can translate that into a solid pick or to your carries cleaning up the rest of the team fight. Now, in general, there are three main types of initiations. There's the walk up initiation, the flank initiation, and the pick initiation. The three in themselves are quite different from each other and can have some fairly different outcomes. The walk up initiation is the one most commonly used by tanks. This is where you literally just walk up to your opponents and then use your gap closers to just go in and start a fight. You will often focus the tanks and zone out the carries while avoiding damage from them with this method. Your team can focus the tanks first and then chase down and clean up their backline. This type of initiation is heavily countered by disengage, but it sets up positioning extremely well since your tanks are the ones in the front when they go in, while your carries are on the backside following them up. This type of initiation usually does not result in a kill from the start and can somewhat be kited out, so it's more about making your carry super safe to get a lot of sustained DPS off, rather than killing anyone quickly, and because of that you usually should end up focusing the tanks. However, if the opponents are overextended or if they lack disengage and kiting, you could potentially make a play for the backline, and so this type of initiation can be quite effective. The flank initiation is most commonly used by someone such as assassins, and is still really powerful on tanks as well. This is where you pull off a flank on your opponents and initiate on them from behind in order to wreck their backline, while the rest of the team comes in from the front, and then you burst their carries and clean up their tanks. This type of initiation is difficult versus teams that are very tanky and requires you to have champions strong at flanking in order to pull off. This type of initiation usually involves a kill right off of the bat, or at least some massive DPS to zone out carries from the fight entirely. It's important to use vision to set this kind of play up, as the opponents can definitely counter you if they see you coming. So warding and having a method to clear vision is important, and if the flanking player goes in on the opponents at the same time the rest of the team goes in as well, it works out quite effectively. And the third type of major initiation is the pick initiation. This is the kind of play where you flash in on a high priority target and then burst them down, essentially instantly. This kind of initiation is best done by champions with really high burst damage, often from the mid lane, but sometimes from the top lane or from the AD carry. Your goal is to kill off a target before they do anything, and then having your team back you up in the initiation for an ensuing 4 vs 5 fight. This gets countered by things that stop burst damage, such as Zhonya's and Kayle ultimate, but can often still be pulled off if you outplay your opponents, since players will often not react fast enough. It's important to note that when you fail to kill your target this way, it often ends up pretty badly, since you have one of your main carries and damage dealers purposefully overextending to make this kind of initiation possible. And because of that, a defensive item like Zhonya's or Guardian Angels could really work wonders, since it ensures that the person going in for the burst damage will pretty much always be able to survive. And so because of all of those things, you want to only try to pick off opponents who are overextending. And most of the time someone usually will, especially if you watch players when they go to poke. They often overextend, so you can just go in on them and burst them down. Now, when initiating, you have to keep in mind what kind of champion you are playing. How you initiate is going to be really different depending on what kind of champion you are using. A squishy mid laner cannot perform the type of walk-in initiation, since they are not really the front line of the team, so that kind of initiation will not set up good positioning for your team. While a tank cannot go for the pick initiation, since they don't really deal that much damage and their target will easily live. However, I would say that pretty much any kind of champion can go for the flank initiation if it's set up properly, since it's just so powerful. When flanking, just watch out to make sure that you aren't going into a 1v5 fight, since your team is too far behind to catch up and help you. And lastly, when you initiate, it's important to watch out for the re-initiation from your opponent. Oftentimes you might get what you think is a good initiation, but your opponent's positioning was actually quite solid, and then they can disengage and then re-initiate in on you. Re-initiating after a fight has already started is essentially a great way to secure positioning, since it's very difficult to respond to that kind of thing. The key thing that sets up a re-initiation is solid disengage. If your initiation was not powerful enough, you are very prone to getting re-initiated on, since you waste a lot of key abilities by trying to go in. So just make sure that when you chase after being disengaged, your carries are not overextending into an initiation opportunity. Anyways, that just about wraps up my tips. My name is Jeremy, and that's it for my video on initiations. Hey guys, it's me, Jeremy. Thanks for watching my video. If you enjoyed it, definitely make sure to hit that like button so I can tell, and if you're interested, definitely check me out on all the socials, of which you can see over there. And if you really enjoyed the video, make sure to subscribe for some more awesome content in the future, as well as you can check out some of my other videos up here and over there. Anyways, that's going to be it. Thank you so much for watching, and of course, I'll see you guys next time.